Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Opinion Machine, the show where we talk about all things gaming. My name is Killjoy, and today we are talking about Shadow Gambit and the Cursed Crew. This is a game that was the final game by a studio called Me. I think that's how you pronounce it. A German studio that had basically made their name as this studio that were very good at creating these stealth action, stealth real-time games on PC. And for a final game, this is an absolute banger, and this is a game that will probably get overlooked in some aspects. It will have its beloved fans, and people of the genre will love it. And this is the first game I kind of finished this year. I started it in 2023, and I finished it off in 2024, and I absolutely love it. And I love it because it knows exactly what it wanted to be, and it was fun. It had a fun story, it had fun characters. We're not talking like story and writing on the level of like Baldur's Gate 3, but it was never going to be that. It was like, this is about pirates, let's write a very piratey story, let's do some fun things with that. And it absolutely nails that sort of stuff. So I finish it. I just want to talk about the game as a whole, really, and just my experience with it, and all that good stuff. If you're familiar with either Commandos, Desperados, or even their games beforehand, Shadow Tactics, they did do Desperados 3, which is also really, really good. These guys basically kept iterating on this genre and their games. So what really makes this game stand out versus the previous games is that in the previous games, you might have 10 missions. Each mission is probably about an hour long, and you play through the story that way, and you meet different characters as you go along, and vice versa, and you have certain characters for certain levels. This game's different because it has essentially a hub, which is the ship that you're on. You have that as a hub, and you go to different islands, and you go to the same islands multiple times to do different quests. You might land on different sides of the islands. So what they've basically done is this game is very much about player expression. If there's a set of characters that you really like using that you unlock throughout the game, you don't have to use anyone else. You can just use those 3 characters. Or you can mix and match them. You can do all these kind of things. When you get to an island, like I said, you can choose to land in different places. You can try and start the missions like as a different challenge. And that's what the big evolution was like, hey, it's no longer this structured 1 to 10 or whatever the mission structure is. It's like, these are the places you can go. These are the things you need to do. And you can kind of take the people you want. And that's really, really interesting, and it's a really great way of being like, hey, these characters don't sit my playstyle, so I'm going to take these guys and mix these up a bit. Whereas, like, I like to use all of them, and we will get to the characters and what they do and all that good stuff in a minute. But for me personally, it was like, hey, this is a really cool idea, because now I get to try different characters. They all have things that are super useful, and sometimes I'm just like, I wish I could have all of them. But it's just that's really what makes this game unique and push that kind of genre along. It's like, oh, you use the hub as a place to like upgrade the characters, find out more story, do fun things on the boat. A lot of silly side quests and things can happen there. You have a set amount of islands that you can visit, and you get to, and what's really cool is the different missions you get they force you around the map, so they kind of thought about it. I'm impressed with like the map design as well, because you won't always have the characters that would maybe be suited to an area. Things have to be designed in a way that works with any of the characters you have, and having the different abilities kind of gel together and stuff like that. So I had an absolute blast playing it because of that player expression. That's really the key phrase for this game, is you get to pick the characters, you get to pick how you approach the island, go and do the mission. And apart from the side stories or the side missions that are for those specific characters which force you into using them, having that option is awesome. It's like, oh, I need someone who's really good at distracting enemies. I'll take them with me. But you don't have to. You can take, somebody else entirely. So that's really cool about it. So those characters in the game, let's talk about them, because they are really what makes this game have that gameplay. So the gameplay loop is essentially like this, right? You land on an island, you have a quest. If you've not played these games before, the way it works is each enemy that's on the island has a view cone. If it's daytime, the view cone, if you step into it like at any point, are pretty much guaranteed to be seen by the guard. If it's blocked by a bush or some kind of obstacle, you can kind of crouch and you won't get seen as long as you're crouching. If it's nighttime, they have a significantly shorter view cone, with the rest of it being you can crouch in it and get close. So nighttime's always better for you for the most part, because as long as you avoid lights, you can stealth around and get around much easier. But essentially, it's you move around the map, trying to avoid guards. You can knock them out, you can tie them up, you can kill them, you can dispose of the bodies. But you're trying to get to wherever you're trying to get to, then get back and get out. And you have different types of enemies. You've got basic ones that will kind of be easily distracted. You've got the guys that won't leave their posts. You've got ones like the prognosticators, which you have to like use one person to distract them, and then one person to like kill them or knock them out or whatever you're trying to do. So there's all this strategy, and then like certain areas you'll be like, Christ, you know, you're reloading and like saving and reloading very often, because you'll be like, right, I'll try this, it didn't work, right, let's try again. And that's what makes these games fun, is like, okay, I know if I can pick this one character off, if I can get rid of this one enemy, this makes the rest of this section so much easier. But they always put the enemies in multiple locations that make it very difficult, so you have to think about it. You know, oh, I've got this guy that's really good at distracting enemies, I can distract them, quickly kill this guy, chuck his body in a bush with golden. So the characters, first off, you have like the main protagonist. I say protagonist, you're pirates. You're all just there to loot. You have the main protagonist, which is Amphibious, and she has some very powerful abilities. She has the ability to teleport to an enemy, and so just kill them. She also has the ability to stop someone for about 5 seconds, I think it is. I'm not sure the length of it, but you can do that. Most of your characters take about 5 seconds to kill an enemy, whereas there's a couple in the game that only take 3 seconds, so they're like your quick assassins. But the reason why Amphibious is good is that Amphibious has this ability to dash from a distance to kill someone without them raising the alarm or setting the alarm off, and also has the ability to stop someone for however long, which is really powerful, and I think one of the best abilities in the game. I just didn't use it myself as much as I thought it would. But Amphibious, very solid first character. I did take her on most of the missions because, like, it's just a good character to have. Some people might say that she's not that great, but I having that ability to teleport to an enemy and kill them I found super useful. After that, we've got Quentin. Quentin is a treasure hunter. Quentin is basically this headless skeleton. He's actually like basically the class clown of the entire ship. He's very, I kind of like his dialogue. He's kind of very silly, but his whole thing is that he is very much a distraction and battlefield manipulator. So what he can do is he can chuck his skull out to draw the attention of enemies, and you can bash him over the back of the head. And he can also hide dead bodies in his chest, but he also has a fishing rod. And the fishing rod can grab your allies and pull them over a wall. It can grab them, get them out of harm's way. It can grab dead bodies. He's very much a support character in the sense that his whole thing is to distract and let someone else tackle him, and then he'll hide the dead bodies, which is a very, very powerful tool, being able to have a mobile body disposer, because you don't want the enemy finding the bodies or set off the alarm, all this good stuff. After Quentin, we've got John Mercury. John Mercury's this Scottish guy that's carrying around an anchor. A very, very powerful ability. His whole shtick is that he carries around a undead fish called Reginald, and they work together to deal with the Inquisition. And he's really cool because his stuff is that he can distract with Reginald and get the enemies to turn around. But he also has the ability to go under, and he goes under the ground essentially, or into the void, and then he can pop back up and pull someone into the void, and not have to worry about the body. He is very, very useful when you're trying to do multi-kill approach. If there's a couple of guards, he's really good for that, where you send him under, because in this game you can stop time, set your commands for certain characters, hit enter, and it all plays out. He's really useful for that because it's instantaneous. So if you've got 2 people ready to shoot, say there's 3 guards, you're going to shoot 2 of them and you want John to deal with the other one, it all happens at the same time. As soon as John starts that animation, that enemy is dead, which is really cool. He's a lot of fun. Some people say he's like the most broken character. I don't think that's necessarily the case, but he is very powerful, and I like the fact that he can just get rid of people, like by pulling them under into the dark, or whatever it's called. After that, we have Toya. Toya is my personal favorite character. The reason I like Toya is that he has the ability to teleport, and teleport to an enemy and kill them, so you can set up a trap essentially. He's got a distraction of a flute. Flute has a massive range, so you put down the teleporting marker, you play the flute there, you run away, the enemy walks into that marker, you teleport to them, and you can kill them. But he is one of the 2 characters that can essentially do a quick kill, so he can basically quickly kill someone, pick them up and run off with them, and he's just solid choice. He was the character I probably used the most. I really like Toya. I think he's very good at what he does, and he's more of a basic assassin, whereas like he can just pull people out of their patrol, kill them, hide the body, then distract someone else. And then he has got the teleport as like an escape plan, so you can set up the teleport quite early on, and doesn't matter where you are on the map, you can teleport back there. It's kind of nuts. I don't think I used him as efficiently as I could, but I feel like there's some fun things you can do with that teleport. After that, we also have Salady, who is the other one who's basically a quick killer. She's really, really nuts because her ability is she can spawn cover, which in this case is a bush, anywhere, like one at a time on a map. So you can create cover where there shouldn't be any, as long as it's not in the path of an enemy, because they will walk into the bush and kill you. But she can quick kill. She can also push people essentially out of their pathing by chucking seeds on them, and it causes them to walk away and stuff. So very much like Toya, like just a different version of Toya. So those two together are nuts. I really like them. They're very much, they've got distractions and they can push people around. They quick kills, and obviously Toya can teleport and she can just create a bush and hide in it, and it's just mad. We've got Pincus. Pincus is a lot of fun. Pincus basically is your character that can become the guards. He possesses the guards. He can only go within a certain radius. It's a fairly big radius, and if you play it right, you can keep going from guard to guard. And he essentially can distract, and basically, like, you can go and talk to someone, and then while you're talking to someone, you send like Toya or Salady in to like deal with someone else and stuff. Very much just a distraction guard. He's kind of a lot of fun, but you do have to think a little bit differently, because you can't, if you start killing all the guards off and he can't reach them, he has to like escape from that guard's body and then repossess somebody else. But nevertheless, really good. Then we have Gael, who is the Canoness, who is a really, really interesting character in terms of how they work. I will say though, this is the one character I never really found particularly useful, because the whole thing with Gael is that you can pick up an unconscious body or even a dead body, and you can launch it at an enemy to stun them, which is fine. But the problem is that there's just, I found there was other ways of just dealing with situations. The one thing that Gael can do is pick up an allied character and fire them over a wall onto a ledge or something like that. Like, that has some really interesting use, but I will say that Gael just never got a lot of use out of me. I never really found her particularly useful. I think there's a cool concept there. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's some crazy strats you can do on levels by firing other team members and stuff. You can probably do some really good speedrun strats with her, but as a character, cool character, but didn't gel with that gameplay of having this manipulation. Kind of like Quinton. As Quinton pulls people towards you, Gael fires people away. Like, they're kind of like the opposite of one another, but they do basically act as like the kind of battlefield manipulator. And then lastly, there's Teresa, who is essentially a sniper-based character. Very interesting in the sense that you have one sniper shot and you have to retrieve it, which makes sense. I like Teresa in that sense. Or Teresa also has the ability to shorten someone's cone by blinding them in the eyes. That is a very useful ability. Didn't use Teresa a huge amount, but the times I did use her, like being able to pop someone off from afar in some instances can be really good. You just got to remember to go and pick up the arrow afterwards. And then being able to blind people, shorten their cone, very, very powerful. So that's the crew. There is also one, like, there's 2 expansions that came out that I haven't played that add characters. There's also the final character, the Jester, I've forgotten his name, who basically has everyone's abilities and stuff. It's kind of nuts. But all of those characters, the reason why they're so interesting and it's cool to mix and match them is some of their powers work really well together. I found that if you have Toya and Aphia, they work really well together. Toya and Salady work really well together. But you can John Mercury. You could do John Mercury, Toya, Salady. That's a pretty crazy combo. And I'm sure there's other ones there that I don't really know about. But all in all, like, I like the fact that they're there and different people have different abilities and they're going to gel towards different things. So that's like your core gameplay of characters. You know, you're going around, you're stealthing, doing your objectives and whatnot. The story in this game is a lot of fun. It's not like mind-bending or mind-blowing or anything like that. But what I really like about it is it's a very good pirate story. As the game unfolds, you find out a lot more, and it takes a wild turn. It takes a wild couple of turns, actually, that I wasn't expecting, which is awesome, because you're dealing with this Inquisition. They're the main bad guys, and essentially, this one leader of the Inquisition is trying to capture your ship, which is the Red Marley, because of the ship's power, which is essentially their way of describing the save and load mechanic. So you capture memories, you go back to them when you need to, and it's really cool. And on top of that, what's good about the main story is a nice, compact main story. And then you get side stories on the boat. And then at some point in the game, you actually get side quests. So the side stories on the boat are just, you use those characters and they interact, and they do, every time you come back to the boat you can do a new part of the story, and there's like 5 or 6 parts, and they're all different. They're all very different from the ones I've done. And then when you get the side quests, you actually have to use those characters, and you get something to do with their backstory, what happened to them, why they ended up the way they were. Like John's is amazing. Like he basically is like, I need to find these people that essentially killed me, so that we can sing this particular song. And like how he gets there and why he does it is so cool. And it just also, like, there's stuff in the game that's actually hinting towards it, but you don't know until you've got all the information. So in terms of that, like, that's awesome, you know. Each of the islands in the game that you go to are very, very different. You have one which is all about a big vine that lives on this island, and you can run across the vine and he can help you, and he's sentient. You've got like a big, this big prison, big like citadel one. You've got these 2 twin islands which have like 2 spirits, like brother and sister, and they're like mischievous. Each island is different. There's one with a giant pit on it, and you go to each one different times to do different things, but it's actually really cool. Each of the actual places you go to has its own character, if you like. And yeah, it's just ultimately, like, there's enough mixture of here where, because you're bouncing between the islands and you're doing different things, like, it never gets too stale. This game is a nice length. If you're not interested in a lot of the side stuff, you'll get through the game in probably about 10 hours, I would say. I'm not actually sure what my count is on that, but like overall, the more I played of it, like, the more I was like, oh, I want to see the side content. I finished the game now, so I'm like, I'm gonna go back and do the rest of the side content and probably get the expansions, you know, carry on playing it, because it's a ton of fun. But honestly, like, this game is just flipping awesome, and I'm really excited that in 2024 we're getting Commandos Origins. Like, I love this game is heavily, or these guys are heavily inspired by the Commandos games, and they've obviously done 3 different games in this style. And this I haven't played the other 2 in a very long time, but this one is so good. Great theming, fun story, tons of good mechanics. Like, if you like stealth action games, this is really gonna hit it home for you. Don't sleep on this game. If you're not sure, go and watch some gameplay. Go and watch some gameplay of this and see if this is the kind of thing that you would like. I really, really, really rate this game. This is one of those ones that's going to get overlooked and forgotten about, I think, in the grand scheme of the amount of games that came out last year and going forward. And I just want people to recognize that this is just a solid game. I haven't even gone over everything. I've just given you a basic rundown of the characters, how the game works, and why it's changed the game. But honestly, go check it out. Go have a look at it, see what you think. And go and watch a playthrough, go and watch some gameplay. See if it's the kind of game that you would enjoy, because just everything combined here, this game wasn't trying to be groundbreaking per se. It wasn't trying to be any of these things. It was just trying to be, hey, we've made a new stealth action game, and it nails everything it needs to nail. And the fact that this game is based around player expression is awesome. And one thing I will give them credit for as well, like, I am a massive fan of, you have your difficulties, but you can do a drop down menu and you can adjust the difficulty. So you're like, maybe I want so that the enemies don't spot me as fast, but I want everything else to be harder. The game lets you do that, and I am a huge fan of this more modern approach to difficulty, where you have your, you know, your normal, medium, hard, all that sort of stuff, and then you have the ability to adjust them even further, and I think that's really, really awesome. So shout outs to Mimimi. A shame that this is their last game, like, I get it, but this game is awesome. If you have any passing interest, please, please, please go and check it out. So that's going to do it for me today then, guys. Thank you very much for watching, as always. If you like the video, hit like. If you want to see more content, then hit subscribe. Links for Facebook and Twitter will be down below in the description, as always. And until next video, I will see you then.